just wanted to share with you a little bit about my background because it might help you have a little confidence that I kind of know what I'm talking about in this area. Also, I'm celebrating 31 years with UPS this year, and I started in the Minnesota district, as Trevor had mentioned. I started as a preloader in the State Street building. It doesn't exist anymore once they built Egan. And I actually was a preloader part-time while I was going to college. And I loaded Jeff Ekman's truck. So now, Jeff didn't like me at first because I was young. I was just throwing the packages in there. And the first couple of times he came back and rolled me up, and I figured, oh man, I'm in trouble. And but as time went on, I became much better. And Jeff and I are actually friends today, and we would talk frequently in his role as a business agent. So I was in the district. I was a preloader for about 4 years. Won a driving bid down in the St. Paul building, the State Street building. Drove with Jeff, drove with Brad Johnson, and others that were in the State Street building. I drove for a little over a year and then promoted into management. Spent most of my time in the district in the HR department, hiring for the Minneapolis building, the Egan building. I was an on-road supervisor in West Center for a couple years. I worked in the St. Paul hub as a supervisor for a couple years. And then I was called down to corporate to work with the retirement group. And I spent about 1.5 years down in corporate working with retirement benefits for all the various plans that UPS has. From there, I was promoted and sent out to Philadelphia, the East Central region. And I spent 6 years actually in that area. I worked in the region office, in the HR group, and I worked in the Metro Philadelphia district, and I worked over at the Philly Air Hub. And that was a great experience. Minnesota guy going out to the East Coast. The first time my wife went to the grocery store, she came home crying because when she put her groceries up on the counter, they said, "Come on, hon, we got to move this along. We got other people waiting. We're here. It's, oh, how are you? Good day." Very nice people in Minnesota. But we enjoyed Philadelphia. It was a great thing. I was in Philadelphia for about 6 years, and then they transferred me down and promoted me to the district HR manager position in North Florida. And that's in Jacksonville, Florida. I had 2 young daughters that were, I think at the time, 9 and 11. And they thought they won the lottery. We're moving to Disney World. And Jacksonville's about 1.5 hours, 2 hours from Disney World, but they enjoyed that and they liked living in Florida. So all of a sudden, UPS is working with the Teamsters through negotiations to try and get our UPSers out of central states and get what we believe is a much better, more secure pension plan. And they were working on those negotiations, and it was getting close, and everybody was feeling very confident that they were going to get it done. So my boss called me and said, "You got some experience with the retirement plans. We need somebody to make this thing happen." So I didn't negotiate these benefits, but I'm the guy that was in charge of putting it together and making sure that on day one, in January 1, 2008, we were up and running, and we were able to start answering questions, start processing retirements. And I was involved in that from the beginning and got it up and running. And then when that was, we believe, up and running pretty well, they expanded my responsibility. So I do plan administration for all UPS retirement plans. And we administer several different retirement plans for the union folks, full-time, part-time, for the non-union folks. We got a couple other union pension funds that we administer. So that's kind of my background. And I'll try and try to put together this presentation. Trevor had sent me a number of pages of questions that he solicited ahead of time. And so I wanted to make sure that 90% of the questions were incorporated into my presentation. And all the questions were great questions, and they're very common questions that we'll get, but there's a couple of other questions that I wasn't able to incorporate in. So at the end, I'll read those questions off and see if I can answer them the best I can. How many part-timers are in the room? Okay, so we got a fair number of part-timers. After I go through the UPS IBT pension plan, which you should be interested in because if you're thinking someday you might be full-time, this would be the plan that you would be covered under. But when I'm done with this presentation and I'll answer some questions regarding this plan, I do have a presentation to cover the highlights of the part-time pension plan as well. So with that, we'll move to the next slide. Okay, and this slide, is that the next slide? Yes. Okay, so this slide is just telling you who's eligible to participate in this plan. So it's available to full-time UPSers who previously participated in the Central States Pension Fund or are newly eligible participants who are currently covered by the agreement between UPS and the IBT as provided in the collective bargaining agreement. Pretty straightforward. The next thing I want to cover are service pensions, how benefit accruals work, and then talk a little bit about the long-term benefit security of the plan. So when you talk about service pensions, you can get a service pension with as few as 20 years at age 50. At 25 years or more, you can retire at any age. And under the plan, this includes service from Central States in addition to any service you accrued under the UPS IBT plan. The plan also provides opportunity for partial service pensions, and that's where your part-time service can also help you get a service pension under the plan. And I'll give you more detail on partial pensions as we go through. So this is the service pension chart, and a lot of the questions that I got, as well as a lot of the things I cover in the presentation, are all contained in your SPD. And in 2000, it was late 2008 or 2009 when we sent the SPD, and we sent it to everybody that was a participant of the plan. So everybody should have an SPD. If you don't, I'll talk about later how you can get an SPD if you are a participant and you don't have one. But this is the best source. Like I said, a lot of the questions I got are actually answered within the SPD, but this is a great opportunity for us to answer them for everybody, and I'm sure if someone had the question, a number of people might have it as well. So when you talk about improved benefits, we increased the monthly benefit credit rating from 2008 to 2013. So this is the benefit accruals. And if you don't understand how the benefit accruals work, for every year you get credited in the plan, you get your benefit increases by whatever the benefit accrual rate is for that year. So what happened when we transferred the liability from Central States, you had anybody that was a participant in Central State had an accrued benefit. Let's just say for purposes of this presentation it was $2,000 accrued benefit. That's what your benefit earned at Central States was as of 12/31/07. The accrued benefit is the benefit amount you're eligible for at normal retirement age, which is age 65 under this plan. And I'll talk a little later that you can get your benefit as early as age 62 without any reductions as long as you have 20 years of service. But normal retirement age is 65, so let's say you had an accrued benefit of $2,000 in 12/31/07 and you retired, you were 65, that would be your monthly benefit amount. But every year you continue to work, you continue to accrue towards your normal retirement benefit, and that's the accrual rates. You'll notice that the accrual rates are in place up to 2013. So that's through the expiration of the current contract. So if I was you, if I was a participant of the plan, I would be very interested in the upcoming negotiations, because what they'll have to do is determine what the accrual rates will be for the upcoming contract. All right, long-term benefit security. So what we'll talk about here is the financial security of the plan. The nice thing about this plan is it's a single employer plan. So if you think about the Central States plan, it was a multi-employer plan. There were many participating companies. So there was a lot of different folks covered under the plan. The nice thing about this plan is the only people covered under this plan are UPSers. Cost the company $6.1 billion to withdraw, but everybody believes that this is the best thing for UPS participants or UPSers. When it talks about financially secure plan with higher legal funding requirements, I know Wendy was talking about all these governing agencies, the PPA, ERISA, the PBGC, the Department of Labor. They regulate these plans, and then they have required funding levels for the plans. Well, the required funding levels for single employer plans are higher than multi-employer plans, so it means more security for you, essentially. This plan also protects benefits that you already had. As far as the UPS funds in the UPS IBT plan, you make no contributions towards the plan. There's early retirement options, and the plan maintained the same early reduction factors that were in the Central States plan. Maintain the same optional forms of payment. Under the plan, your spouse and children are still eligible for death benefits. And the plan provides for benefits if you become disabled. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of those things. Let me see. What I tried to do is make notes to myself regarding some of the questions that came in to make sure on the appropriate slide we cover that. Let's see. Oh, when you talk about the disability benefit, I know there was a question about what the benefits are under the disability plan. Of course, it's laid out in your SPD, but just for an example, if you become disabled and you're 50 years old or younger, the disability benefit from the plan is $650. It goes up to $700 at age 51, and then it looks like it maxes out at age 57 or older if you become disabled. The monthly benefit from the plan is $1,000. Okay, next slide. Here we're going to give you an example of a service pension. So we got a person here that has 30 years of service. They had 20 years of service prior to 12/25/07, so under Central States had 20 years of service. Their age at retirement is 60? 50, sorry. I should have my glasses on, I guess. And then under the new UPS IBT plan, earned another 10 years, so you get a total of 30 years of service. Their estimated Central States age 65 benefit is $2,324. So again, that's your accrued benefit with Central States. So your benefit from the plan, UPS IBT plan, if you retire, again, this individual is 50 years old with 30 years of service, is $3,000. When UPS withdrew from the Central States plan, we withdrew all pre-age 65 liability. So what that means is the UPS IBT plan from age 50 to 65 is going to pay $3,000. At age 65, Central States will then pay $2,324, and UPS will pay $676 for a total of $3,000. Does that make sense? Okay. There's another example there of 25 years. So I had 24 years with Central States, 1 year under the UPS IBT plan for a total of 25 years. The Central States plan accrued benefit at 12/31/07 was $2,576. The 25-year service pension is $2,500. So the way that works is the UPS IBT plan from age, is that 57? 57 to age 65 is going to be $2,500. Even though the Central States accrued benefit is $2,576, the most Central States will pay at age 65 is $2,500. Does that make sense? Okay.